Creating a pivot table was pretty easy, right? We did some very time-consuming calculations in just a few mouse clicks. Well, we've just scratched the surface. Watch what else we can do with a pivot table. Now, as I mentioned last time, we have our pivot table over here on the left, and over on the right side, we have a list of fields and then some boxes underneath there. And by moving the fields into different boxes, we can change the way our pivot table looks. Well, let's change it. Now, we noticed here, we already found out who our best customer is here. Let's see which product is our best-selling product. I'm going to take customer here. Down here in the box here, customer, I'm going to just take this with my left mouse button, just click it and drag it and drop it into my spreadsheet. That makes it go away. Now I just see the two people compared there, which is fine. But now watch this. I'm going to take item here, grab item here with the left mouse button and drag it and drop it into the columns box. And now look at this. I've just sliced and diced the data. I've seen now this, it's broken down by salesperson and by item. And you can see that our best-selling product is the cherries. Okay, and it turns out that Ben is the best, even though he's behind Ashley, he's selling a lot more cherries than Ashley is. So look at all the data we've got just by one mouse click, just dragging one thing from the top into the box there. A lot of information. Now, most tables are usually vertically oriented. This one's horizontally oriented. Okay, so let's change it so it's vertically. So what we can do here is we take item here from the columns box, drag it and put it down here in the rows box under salesperson. And then we're going to take salesperson and drag it and put it into the columns box. And you see what we did there? Do you see that? We just did what? We pivoted the table. That's why they call it pivot tables, because it's so easy to change them around. If we had to do that manually with formulas, it would have taken about 2 hours. Okay, and we did it in what, 2 mouse clicks. It's an amazing, amazing tool. We can move things around and change things so easily. Okay, good. So we have the same information we had before, but it's just in a different format here. Let's fix things up a little bit here. Okay, let's change the labels here. We've got labels. It says column labels and row labels. Well, we know these are columns and we know they're labels. Same thing here. We know they're rows and we know that. So this information is not telling us too much. Let's improve upon this. When we select inside a pivot table, you notice we have 2 new tabs at the top: pivot table, analyze, pivot table design. If I click outside the pivot table, they go away. Click inside the table. There they are again here. The pivot table analyzes a bunch of tools for basically just changing the way the pivot table works. And then the design tab is a bunch of tools for fixing up the design, making it look a little better. And that's exactly what we want to do. That's what we want to do here. We'll click on design and we'll click on the button here, report layout, which will give us different layouts. And we're going to choose this one here, the outline form. Click on outline form there. That's much better. Now we have a label that actually is meaningful. Okay, these Ashley and Ben are the salesperson. And the item here is the 3 items here. Okay, much better. I wish that was the default format that Excel tables, that pivot tables came in, but unfortunately we just have to remember to change that. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now, another thing we can change here is we have the sums here of all the sales here, of all the dollars spent on these different things, on these different transactions. Well, what if we wanted to see the average transaction for Ben and Ashley and for each of these items? It's very simple. All we need to do is what? Right-click any of these numbers, go to summarize values by, and instead of sum, we'll go to average. There it is, and we can see what the average price is there. Works really nicely and really good. Okay, so that's nice. And if we want to change that, we want to see the number of transactions. Again, we can just right-click any of the numbers there, go to count, and you can see the count, and you see the most common transactions for bananas for Ashley. Very rare for bananas for Ben. Interesting. Okay, now let's go back here. Let's right-click one of the numbers. Again, we'll go back to doing sums. And it turns out that there's some data. Our data is wrong. If we go back into our sales 3 sheet, and you can see Ben here, Ben's selling, Ben is bananas here, $31. Okay, on January 8th, Ben sold bananas to Bennett for $31. Well, it turns out that's a mistake. They left out 2 digits there. It should be 1,031. Okay, so let's change that. I'm going to double click on here, and there's a lot of digits there. I'm going to click right in front of that 31, type of 10, hit the enter key, and I've changed the number there. Okay, let's see how it changed in our pivot table. Click on sheet 1. No change at all. No change at all. Remember, pivot tables do not automatically recalc, unlike most of the other things in Excel. So what we need to do is manually refresh it. How do we do that? We have to right-click it. Right-click any number. Right-click any number, and we'll go to refresh. Click on the refresh option there. And there, now we have the results better for Ben. And you can see now Ben's way ahead of Ashley. Look at that. Now, this table is pretty good and pretty useful, but if you want to make your data really stand out, what's the best way to do that? Well, with a chart. In fact, if you click in the Pivot Table Analyze tab, there's a nice button there, Pivot Chart, and you click on this, and there's a bunch of different charts you could choose. I'll just choose a simple here, two-dimensional clustered column chart, and we'll click OK. And there it is. I'm going to just move it down a little bit, move it down below our table so it doesn't block the table view there. And you can see, there it is. And for some reason, when these pivot charts come up, they have these gray things here. This is for sorting, or actually for filtering our data. We click on this, and we can filter who we want. Well, it's not really too useful, is it? So let's get rid of those. The way to do that is to go up. Notice now, when we click inside a pivot chart, we have 3 new tabs at the top: Pivot Chart Analyze, Design, and Format. And if we click on the Analyze chart, the Analyze tab there, way over on the right side is this button for field buttons. That's what those gray things are, field buttons. And if I click it, they go away. Okay, that's another nice thing. I wish it was a default, but maybe in the future version it will be. But right now we have to just remember to do that. So it makes it go away. And now the data, our chart looks a lot better and looks really nice. Okay, so real nice. We have a nice little chart, nice little pivot table here. We have a lot of data here. We can move things around by moving things into the different boxes here, and we can fix the labels here. And also, if we want to present the data, we can create a chart really simply by clicking on the pivot chart button. To adjust the label format, bits, remember, click in the Design tab, click on Report Layout, and then click on Show in Outline Form. And just remember, when the data changes, when the underlying data changes, you have to refresh it. You have to right-click any cell on the table and then just choose Refresh. To change the function, usually it's sum, but if you want to do an average or a count, basically just right-click any number, choose Summarize Values By, and then choose the desired function. And to create charts is very simple. Just click in the Analyze tab and just choose Pivot Chart, and then choose what kind of chart you want. It's very, very simple to do. In our next video, we're going to create a pivot table from scratch.